That's as it ought to be. And I'm very glad for the peasant. But I do mind seeing the process of impoverishment from a sort of I don't know what to call it innocence. Here a Polish speculator bought for half its value a magnificent estate from a young lady who lives in Nice. And there a merchant will get 3 acres of land, worth 10 rubles, as security for the loan of 1 ruble. Here, for no kind of reason, you've made that rascal a present of 30,000 rubles. Well, what should I have done? Counted every tree? Of course, they must be counted. You didn't count them, but Rubinian did. Rubinian's children will have means of livelihood and education, while yours maybe will not. Well, you must excuse me, but there's something mean in this counting. We have our business and they have theirs, and they must make their profit. Anyway, the thing's done, and there's an end of it. And here come some poached eggs, my favorite dish. And Agafia Mihalovna will give us that marvelous herb brandy. Stepan Arkadyevitch sat down at the table and began joking with Agafia Mihalovna, assuring her that it was long since he had tasted such a dinner and such a supper. Well, you do praise it, anyway, said Agafia Mihalovna, but Konstantin Dmitrovitch, give him what you will, a crust of bread, he'll eat it and walk away. Though Levin tried to control himself, he was gloomy and silent. He wanted to put one question to Stepan Arkadyevitch, but he could not bring himself to the point, and could not find the words or the moment in which to put it. Stepan Arkadyevitch had gone down to his room, undressed, again washed, and attired in a nightshirt with goffered frills. He had got into bed, but Levin still lingered in his room, talking of various trifling matters, and not daring to ask what he wanted to know. How wonderfully they make this soap, he said, gazing at a piece of soap he was handling, which Agafia Mihalovna had put ready for the visitor but Oblonsky had not used. Only look, why, it's a work of art. Yes, everything's brought to such a pitch of perfection nowadays, said Stepan Arkadyevitch, with a moist and blissful yawn. The theater, for instance, and the entertainments aaa. He yawned. The electric light everywhere aaa. Yes, the electric light, said Levin. Yes. Oh, and where's Vronsky now? He asked suddenly, laying down the soap. Vronsky? Said Stepan Arkadyevitch, checking his yawn. He's in Petersburg. He left soon after you did, and he's not once been in Moscow since. And do you know, Kostya, I'll tell you the truth, he went on, leaning his elbow on the table, and propping on his hand his handsome ruddy face, in which his moist, good-natured, sleepy eyes shone like stars. It's your own fault. You took fright at the sight of your rival. But, as I told you at the time, I couldn't say which had the better chance. Why didn't you fight it out? I told you at the time that. He yawned inwardly, without opening his mouth. Does he know, or doesn't he, that I did make an offer? Levin wondered, gazing at him. Yes, there's something humbugging, diplomatic in his face, and feeling he was blushing, he looked Stepan Arkadyevitch straight in the face without speaking. If there was anything on her side at the time, it was nothing but a superficial attraction, pursued Oblonsky. His being such a perfect aristocrat, don't you know, and his future position in society, had an influence not with her, but with her mother. Levin scowled. The humiliation of his rejection stung him to the heart, as though it were a fresh wound he had only just received. But he was at home, and the walls of home are a support. Stay, he began, interrupting Oblonsky. You talk of his being an aristocrat. But allow me to ask what it consists in, that aristocracy of Vronsky or of anybody else, beside which I can be looked down upon? You consider Vronsky an aristocrat? But I don't. A man whose father crawled up from nothing at all by intrigue, and whose mother God knows whom she wasn't mixed up with. No, excuse me, but I consider myself aristocratic, and people like me, who can point back in the past to 3 or 4 honorable generations of their family, of the highest degree of breeding, talent and intellect, of course that's another matter, and have never curried favor with anyone, never depended on anyone for anything, like my father and my grandfather. And I know many such. You think it mean of me to count the trees in my forest, while you make Rubinian a present of 30,000. But you get rents from your lands and I don't know what, while I don't, and so I prize what's come to me from my ancestors or been won by hard work. We are aristocrats, and not those who can only exist by favor of the powerful of this world, and who can be bought for tuppence halfpenny. Well, but whom are you attacking? I agree with you, said Stepan Arkadyevitch, sincerely and genially, though he was aware that in the class of those who could be bought for tuppence halfpenny Levin was reckoning him too. Levin's warmth gave him genuine pleasure. Whom are you attacking? Though a good deal is not true that you say about Vronsky, but I won't talk about that. I tell you straight out, if I were you, I should go back with me to Moscow, and... No, I don't know whether you know it or not, but I don't care. And I tell you I did make an offer and was rejected, and Katerina Alexandrovna is nothing now to me but a painful and humiliating reminiscence. Whatever for? What nonsense! But we won't talk about it. Please forgive me, if I've been nasty, said Levin. Now that he had opened his heart, he became as he had been in the morning. You're not angry with me, Stiva? Please don't be angry, he said, and smiling, he took his hand. Of course not a bit, and no reason to be. I'm glad we've spoken openly. And do you know, Stan shooting in the morning is unusually good, why not go?